Welcome back, YouTube viewers, to the 2008 Cleveland Browns Bash. I'm your host, AJ, and I'm here with the Week 3 edition of the show. The Cleveland Browns traveled to Baltimore this week to take on the Ravens. And before I get into that game, I'll talk a little about the Steelers game last week. Obviously, it was an undesirable outcome. The Browns lost 10-6. They did exceed my expectations. I picked Pittsburgh by 11. We only lost by 4. The weather had a lot to do with that. Bad weather tends to make games a lot more competitive. The separation between the teams is less. But also, I thought that the Browns, despite the weather, our defense looked pretty good. I was actually very impressed with our defense because I said last week that I did not think we'd be able to get defensive stops similar to the Dallas game, and it turned out that our defense was the shining point for us for Week 2. They looked, the pass rush was good. Overall, we only allowed 10 points. I really liked what I saw out of our defense. There was one thing that was unbelievable that wasn't really our defense's fault necessarily, but the play calling when the Steelers had 3rd and 9 in the second quarter from the Cleveland 11-yard line, and instead of rushing more than 3 guys, as we had been doing for most of the night, we only sent 3 guys. Again, why? I don't know. But what's really peculiar is we have Cameron Wembley and Brodney Poole act like they're going to blitz, but instead they hang around, and they hang around about a yard behind the original line of scrimmage and don't do anything. They don't rush Ben Roethlisberger. They don't, if they were covering a potential running lane for him, that's one thing, but there were 2 of them, and they were just kind of hanging around. It was very odd. It was almost like there were 2 less guys on our defense for that play, at least one. If Brodney Poole was not going to be in the defensive backfield, he should have been running after Roethlisberger. So that play, and then they scored the touchdown. That led to the Hines Ward touchdown reception, and you think about it, if we rush Ben Roethlisberger, there's no guarantee, but there's the potential for him to turn the ball over, there's the potential for us to get a sack, or there's the potential for just an incomplete pass and they kick a field goal. That was a huge mistake for us defensively, like play calling, just for only sending 3 guys. My other thoughts, our final drive of the first half, the Browns got pretty deep into Steeler territory and had a horrible managing of the clock in those last minutes, and then we ended up throwing an interception. Troy Polamalu picked it off. That was very frustrating. And then we also had a play where we kicked the ball off to Pittsburgh, and because of the weather conditions, most likely, the ball got away, bounced around. We had a chance to recover it and potentially run into the end zone for a touchdown, and our guys just could not grab onto the ball. Very frustrating. Those are situations that we have to take advantage of, especially against the Steelers. Come on. It was very frustrating. Another frustrating week. We are now 0-2, going into a very big game now against the Baltimore Ravens. If we lose this game this week, I don't want to call this a must-win, but this, for being Week 3, this is a must-win. We play a huge game that if we lose, we're 0-3, and our schedule only gets tougher. The Ravens are one of the easiest teams on our schedule this year, so that's, crazy. Our schedule is pretty tough this season. So this is a huge game for the Cleveland Browns. So once again, we travel to Baltimore. My keys to the game, we'll start off with stifling the run game. In Baltimore's first and only game so far this season against Cincinnati, they gained 229 rushing yards on 46 carries. Now that is 5 yards per carry, which looks pretty impressive, but you have to remember they are playing the Bengals. But the fact of the matter is that the Browns have to be prepared for the Ravens to run the ball, because with rookie quarterback Joe Flacco, the Ravens are going to, once again, as they did in Week 1, they're going to put most of the offensive load on the running game. And, this is Joe Flacco's only his 2nd start of his NFL career, so we have to be ready for that. Last week against Pittsburgh, we held them to only 3.8 yards per carry. I say only, it's decent. We're going to have to be more effective than that to force Baltimore into situations where they'll use Flacco for passing the ball more than they would probably prefer to. So, my first key, stop the run. My second key, keep up the pass rush. After the first week of the season, I stressed the importance of keeping up the pass rush, and for an entire game, and we did a much better job of that last week. Of course, there was the one play near the end of the first half where Pittsburgh scored the touchdown that I was just talking about. But for most of the game, we did a good job. This week against the Ravens, we have to be ready to start sending the heat. If we can stop the run game and force the Ravens to pass the ball, we can fluster Joe Flacco into making some of those rookie mistakes. So that is an important thing to keep in mind to keep up the pass rush. And my third and final key is to score points. Remember last season when the Cleveland Browns scored 402 points? Neither do I. This season we've only scored 16 points, and if we continue at that rate, by the end of the year we will have racked up a whopping 128 points. Statistically, we faced the NFL's best defense this season, but once again, that's only judging by their game against Cincinnati. But still, season in and season out, the Ravens send a very talented defense to the field. The Browns' offensive situation is not looking any brighter because the injury bug is still hovering over the team. We have to take advantage, once again, of every scoring opportunity that we get. Scoring is huge. So once again, my three keys: stop the run game, which will then lead to, well, we need to keep up the pass rush, but if we do a successful job of stopping the run, we have to keep the pass rush up big to try to fluster Joe Flacco into some mistakes that he will probably be prone to making, in his learning experience. And then, of course, score points, which is a very basic, clear-cut key, and I'm saying that because we've only scored 16 points so far this season, so score points. That's one of my keys. Some notes and numbers. The Browns trail the all-time series against the Ravens 7-11, and there have been 6 regular season series sweeps between these two teams out of only 9 regular season series, so that's kind of interesting. Our point total after 2 games this season, 16, ranks tied for last in the NFL with the St. Louis Rams. The Browns, this is kind of interesting, we have not won a game on the 3rd week of a season since 2003. So hopefully we can break that and win in week 3 here this week. Now it's time for my pick, and I'm going with the Cleveland Browns by 6. First off, it's a relief to finally pick us to win a game this season. We started off, our schedule was pretty tough against the Cowboys and Steelers, and I didn't think we would win either of those games. We did not, but this week I think we can do it. We play a Ravens team with an offensive weakness waiting to be exposed, and that is the rookie quarterback. If we continue the pass rushing scheme that we were doing, that we were sticking with for most of the game last week, once again we should be able to force Flacco into some mistakes. And once again, I keep saying this, but I am stressing this, that of course starts after our ability to stop the run is proven on the field. If we can do that, at least the more passing for the Ravens, pass rush, mistakes, that is, I think, our key to winning the game. I do not think our offense is going to win this game for us because of injuries. Braylon Edwards, Dante Stallworth, Eric Steinbach are all questionable, among others. And also the lack of productivity over the last 2 weeks. I just do not see our offense doing what we need it to do to win a game. So it's going to have to be our defense to step up huge, and I'm confident that our defense will be able to meet that challenge head on. So I am putting it on our defense this week. That is my prediction. And once again, I'm saying that the Cleveland Browns will win this one by 6 points. So let's hope I'm right, or let's hope that we win by even more than that. We're 0-2 once again, so this is a huge, huge, huge game. And of course it is against the Dirty Birds of Baltimore. So my line, Cleveland by 6. Let's hope we can go over to Baltimore and get a W this week. I'm AJ, and this is the 2008 Cleveland Browns Bash Week 3 edition. I'll see you guys next week with a recap of our game against Baltimore and a preview of our game in Cincinnati against the Bengals.
Then we played it out. We come from the bottom and knocked it out. Look.